Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Broadway and Beyond podcast. Today we have Allie Costa. Is that how you say it? Costa?
Costa.
Costa.
It rhymes with pasta.
Allie Costa. Okay. Pasta Costa. Today she's on as our guest. This is episode 4. And here we go. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm good. What have you been doing today? Just anything fun?
Well, yesterday I had a really fun and unforeseen opportunity where I got to go on the red carpet virtually from my home. A movie that I had a fun cameo in was released yesterday, and the producer was kind enough to extend that to everybody. And there were people in the movie from all over the world. So She said, hey, send us a 20-second clip like you're on the red carpet. And then she had a whole pre-show. It was
That's
really
great.
cute.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing during this time for fun? Any new interests or hobbies, new routines? How is life different?
Life is definitely different. I miss sound stages and theater stages like crazy.
Yeah.
I haven't had the opportunity to set foot in a recording studio in months, but what that's done is turned my house, my apartment, into my studio. So I've been doing a lot of projects that either let me film from home, doing voiceover projects that I can record from home, and things like that. So I've been generating work for myself as much as possible and just keeping hope alive, keeping very, very optimistic.
Yeah.
And I've always been somebody who persevered. So I've found new opportunities also that wouldn't have existed prior to COVID. In April, I had the idea, just a thought in my head where I said, if I could go back in time just 1 month and warn myself that this pandemic was coming, what would I tell myself? And an idea came out of the blue, inspiration struck. I wrote the script right then and there, and then I filmed a short film in my house called Future Shock, where I visit myself and warn myself of the things to come. And that literally would not have existed had we not been in this state. So that was a really interesting undertaking because I filmed it by myself, edited by myself, writer, director, actress, cinematographer, editor, all the things. But I had an idea and I made it happen, and I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Since then, I've submitted it and it's been seen in different film festivals, and it's streaming online now. So I'm proud of that. I also really wrote that with the hope that it would infuse hope into others as well. To say, let's acknowledge the time that we're living in, but let's have a fun little time travel spin on it. And also know that you can get through this, and just give a little bit of hope to people that maybe needed a little bit of light in their life, but also connected if they were suffering through things with this pandemic, to give them something that artistically connected with them.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Where can we find that? Where can we watch it?
You can find it at my website. I will send you a link if you'd like. Yep. My website is alliecosta.com, or if you look it up online, it's on IMDb. The title is Future Shock.
Okay, I will put that. That'll be below when this is posted. Yeah, a lot of people have been doing sort of at home short films. Yeah, that sounds really cool. I've definitely seen some people doing that. And I think that's a really cool idea, because this is a thing where you would definitely want to go back and this is your past self would not believe that this was going to happen, I feel like.
No, and even in subsequent months since, now as we're recording this, it is late December, and looking back on 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, it's surreal, and this year has been very, very long. And I know a lot of people have made the joke, hindsight is 2020, because of the actual year that we're in, but it's very true. And I'm very, very grateful for technology.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have a camera, a phone, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a blending of creativity and having the means to do so. I've also been a part of a lot of different theatrical endeavors where we've either done recorded from home or live streamed. So I've done plays and musicals, I've done cabarets, I've done fundraisers for charities, a lot of them with proceeds going towards pandemic relief, COVID-19, SAG-AFTRA Foundation, stuff like that. And I've also had the opportunity, like you mentioned, to do a lot of self-tapes and auditions from home, certainly more than normal, but also doing films, doing dance films, doing dramatic, comedic, musical films. Like I was in one that was called Social Distancing, the musical. I was in a dance film where each of us choreographed our own piece to the same music. And we didn't see each other's work until the movies were all released and put together. And so there were 6 different dancers from all over the world. And it was really interesting and so cool to see everybody interpret the same piece of music in completely different ways. And again, everybody filmed from home. So both embracing the limitations and making something creative out of the fact that you have to dance around your couch or you have to stick the boom mic in your, your creative sweatshirts. You know, these are the things that you have to do. And I think as an artist, you also learn what your limitations are, but you might also learn that you're interested in that. Or hopefully it lets people appreciate crew members, especially people that are backstage and behind the scenes even more, because they're the ones that give us brilliant lighting and amazing editing and wonderful sound and all of that kind of stuff. And theater, especially in film and TV, takes a community to make. And now we're all trying to put our individual spin on it or keep hope alive while we're trying to make our own little projects, be it at home or whatnot. And it's been a very, very interesting experience because creating stuff creating something from the ground up or being invited to take part in something are 2 very different things. So it's been wonderful. And I'm so grateful that I have had the opportunities to keep my career going and keep doing theater endeavors and film and TV. And I will say too, more voiceover. I think a lot of things went to, it was going to be a movie, but now let's make it a podcast, or it was going to be an animated short. Now let's just make it something that's audio only. So that's been a wonderful opportunity as well.
Yeah. I've definitely been partaking in a bunch of different cabarets. I'm currently in do you know the musical or the play actually, She Kills Monsters?
Oh
yeah, I'm playing Orcus in that, and that's going to be online, and we're gonna
how fun, break a leg.
Thank you. We're going to be doing it. It's going to be live streamed on Zoom, but with that sort of thing, which like Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like with Zoom it'll be cool to like do different effects that you wouldn't be able to do on the stage otherwise. You know what I mean? Like when someone's doing a turn, you could turn off your screen and then like pop up again if you were like hitting something. Like I think that'll be cool. But
I got to do a new musical that actually we were supposed to do this summer. It was supposed to be the world premiere of a new musical at Hollywood Fringe. I was already attached to the project, and we had done some table reads. And when everything got shut down in March, Fringe was on hold. They were thinking about delaying it, and then when they officially canceled it, the creator and writer decided to move it online instead. So we got to do a reading of it, a workshop of it online, again, with everybody from their home. But thanks to our amazing editor, Travis, moved the screens in and out, didn't let it be static. If people were or weren't on stage, they were or weren't on screen. And there were some really cool effects and, keeping the blocking because these people were still looking in the same direction, still making it come as alive as possible. I also was part of something called the Coronavirus Cabaret, which is going to be included in the Library of Congress. It's going to be included in the Library of Congress collection that's archiving what performing arts looked like during the pandemic. So that was really neat.
That's amazing.
I also contributed a video to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Homestage Archive, which was doing the same thing and saying, how are people utilizing their space and making their home their stage during this time?
That's great. That's amazing. I definitely have like a better self-tape setup than I did before, like because you have to do so many self-tapes now. I definitely have better lighting and everything, so that's been helpful anyways. But So, okay, so we might have just went over this, but were you currently working when the shutdown started? If so, when did you find out that your project or work would be taking a pause, and have you been able to work on any other projects at this time? You said you did, but when did you like find out? Were you working when you like the shutdown officially started?
So on March 11th is when I started staying home.
Yeah.
And so within 24 hours, a play that I wrote that was going to have its world premiere, we were 2 weeks away from opening night, and that got postponed. At that time, they said we're going to postpone it to the fall. And then within a day after that, the new comedy series that I'd booked a recurring role on halted production. So was waiting on that. The day after that, the musical that I just spoke of, we were supposed to have a table read that day, and they very wisely canceled that and said, we're going to see how Fringe works, and so on and so forth. I am a screenwriter as well as a playwright. So I had another play that was supposed to open in Texas, and that got canceled. I had a week later, I had a play that was supposed to open up in Eden Prairie, and that got canceled. So a lot of things were happening within those couple of weeks. Like before the end of March, a lot of stuff got delayed, postponed, or outright canceled. The Fringe Festival that I mentioned earlier at the end of March said, oh, maybe October, but then eventually that got completely canceled. So these things were all happening, but at the same time, I still think, and I thought then it was more important that everybody be safe. I would rather be safe than sorry. So I thought all of those decisions were wise. I thought those were in the best interest of everyone involved, the performers, the patrons, the people on stage, the people backstage. It was better to wait and see. And again, looking back on this, now that we're talking in December, we didn't know how long it would last, how severe it would be. So people were taking precautions, but didn't completely know what the rules and regulations would be. Fast forward to now, and everything between March and now has pretty much been canceled. TV shows and some films have come back in a safer way with regulations, with SAG-AFTRA protocols and testing protocols in place, but we didn't have that in March, and we certainly didn't have it in theater. So people were just being cautious, which I thought was better.
Yeah.
Sad, heartbreaking to have those shows canceled and postponed, but way, way better. And again, the cool thing is some of them have been made. Yeah. Some of them will come back stronger. Some of them will come back differently. People are doing rewrites. People are editing the footage that they had. There's all different ways to still make use of the art that we had prior to it, rather than just, shelving it entirely or giving up on it.
Yeah. We were actually supposed to, my mom and I were going to go to London to see, do you know the show Be More Chill?
Oh, fun. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were going to go to London to see that production, and they had just opened at like the beginning of February, so they didn't really get to perform much. And it kept getting moved. It kept getting okay, we're going to move it to April. We're going to move it to July. We're going to move it to like September. And then they just had to close. It was, it would keep like moving it. And because I don't think anyone thought that this would last like this long. Like people thought, okay, it'll be done by October at the most. You know what I mean? Like, and now here we are like 9 months later, and it's still not over yet. But yeah,
but it's good to be realistic rather than there's pessimism, there's optimism, and there's realism, right? Is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking for all the people that are out of jobs though, and that you don't get to see your shows, and people don't get to do their shows, and that's had this huge effect. And my friends that are in London, like you just spoke of, that were in tier 3 and now they're in tier 4, and their performances, which were coming back more readily than in America, they're getting canceled. And then my friend in Australia, her show's going on. They are, in her words, pretty much back to normal was the phrase that she used. So that's also been eye-opening to see how in different corners of the world, if we're talking specifically about theater and arts here, how they've bounced back, and how different people in different countries are aware of different rules and regulations. And when we're talking to each other, when my friends from different places and are talking to each other, there's things that they've never considered because they don't do that here, or they do that here, or they're stricter here, yep. Or all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely we all had to up our Zoom game. We all had to get new backdrops and yep. lights and stuff like that. But also I think a lot of the times, like I'm in a cold reading group, a class that just meets once a week. And there's no expectations of memorization. You just have a cold reading, just have fun. And it's been so lovely to have that to look forward to every week.
Yeah.
We read pieces and then we talk about them. And if the writers are present, we talk about what the piece means to us or what it meant to the writer. And it's just been theater still available and feel that theater still alive. You just have to either allow it into your home or find another route, like podcasts. Yeah. Like listening to scripted podcasts or doing audiobooks, like I've narrated audiobooks, and you still can get your sink your teeth into a really fun role and still do something that's fictional that has nothing to do with the current state of the world, and explore that creativity and allow other people the escapism they need.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So how have you been holding up during this time? Have you really been affected by it? Have you been struggling to pay for like certain necessities or like your living situation? How has that been?
I've been very fortunate in that my living situation has remained the same. I have had friends who their living situation completely changed. They had to get new roommates, or people moved away, or they had to move. I've known people that possibly had to move back with their families for varying reasons, some of them being money-based, some of them being health-based, all that sort of stuff. And I've definitely seen people that have learned to embrace community in a new way. Yeah. People that before maybe were hesitant to reach out for mental health or support in different ways that have realized, you know what, I need to. And so that has been something that I've seen as kind of like a line through a lot of artists in particular, because if all their jobs were gone, even their day job or their side hustle, depending on what your situation is in, those went away too. Also, to me, I felt like theater closed up almost earlier than a lot of other industries.
Yeah.
At least here in LA. Like we were getting those cancellations, like I said, in mid-March and to the end of March. A lot of stuff was like, nope, we're not doing it. It's not safe. Before restaurants and, you know, some retail stores and stuff like that. Again, it was different though in different states and in different countries. There were certainly different rollouts. I have always been somebody who needs to keep busy. I've always been somebody who loves being in a show and also having something on the books to look forward to, because we all get the doldrums when a show closes. Yeah. When a movie wraps, you feel that sadness that next day when you aren't going to set or to that theater anymore and you aren't seeing those people. So I always like to have something to look forward to. Yeah. So this podcast was my thing to look forward to today. I think it's really important to have something every day, even if that's, you know, having a really good cup of tea or rereading your favorite book or writing in your journal or watching a comfort movie. A friend of mine just wrote her thesis on comfort films and it was delightful. I think that that's a way to reconnect, not just with the arts, but with yourself and keep yourself hopeful and aware as well.
Self-care, definitely.
Absolutely.
So I'm guessing you are, but are you planning on staying in the business or looking for other employment options? Are you unsure?
Absolutely. I was born to do this. I've known my entire life what I wanted to be and who I was. And I've always felt really, really lucky that I knew it. I always had that spark and that fire in my belly. The first songs and stories that I wrote were about my family and about my pets. And I've just been a storyteller and a noisemaker since day one. And that's something that's never gonna stop. We just have to find different ways to do it.
Yeah.
But that's, you can't knock me down.
Yeah, that's great. So have you been able to see family members and friends much or no?
No, I have been extremely cautious and very, very safe. And I would rather hear people's voices on the phone or in video conference than risk anybody's health.
Yeah.
So none of my immediate family lives in Los Angeles. So I wasn't able to see them, for the holidays like I normally would. But we have a weekly Zoom meeting. I see their amazing faces and hear their voices every week. And that's my thing to look forward to on that day of the week. I've reconnected with some friends who, like I said, were having a rougher time of it. And just checking in with them. There are people that I say, I am here. If you need to reach out, and vice versa. So a certain day of the week, like maybe my check-in day with Sarah is on Mondays. Yeah. So on Mondays, I'm just going to drop you a line, make sure you're doing okay, shoot you a text. And if you want to chat, I'm here. And if you don't, as long as I hear from you and I know you're okay, you know that you're going to check in with me next Monday too. So it's been a good thing to have that going. And I know that not everybody has that.
Yeah.
Not everybody has roommates or close families. Not everybody has, even like a good living situation or good neighbors. So the way that I've been able to connect with people is through a lot of Zooms and through a lot of phone calls.
That's great that you're doing that. That's really nice and helpful.
Thanks.
Has anything paused? I guess you have said that, but has anything positive happened to you during this time that might have not happened otherwise?
Future Shock wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Another film that I recently wrote and performed, Constellations, wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because that opportunity was born out of a company that wanted things that were streamable online, and it was all new work. So there's all those kinds of things. I mean, even stuff like I sang Hamilton's Nonstop when they had the Ham at Home in March. And that was one of the first things that really, kept that spark alive, because I said, look at all these cool people singing the thing that I love. Let's do that. I participated in Broadway Across America's What Theater Means to Me video. And like I mentioned, I was a part of a lot of different cabarets. There was a new musical that I was in called Wendy's World of Wonder. That was part of a 48-hour. It had been written within 48 hours and selected for this production. And I have done a lot of readings, but I've also done full performances. I did a 2-hander play called The Audition from my home, and the person I was playing opposite was thousands of miles away, and our director was zooming in. So that was amazing. Yeah. Also making sure that everybody's time zones are in line is also fun. Yeah. I've also done live stream performances. My piece called Dear Neighbor, which is about noisy neighbors and dealing with it, which a lot of people are feeling now that we're inside more. We got selected for a festival, and so I directed it with another actress over Zoom, which was great because the two characters were supposed to be in separate apartments anyway. And we got to do that live. It was something called the Quarren Stream Festival. So there's been things like that even if the subject matter didn't have to pertain to the pandemic, some of those projects wouldn't have existed because a creative person said, we're not doing enough, or I want to do something, or how can I help people at this time, or the ones that were fundraisers like Coronavirus Cabaret. I also have participated in various 24-hour festivals as an actor, as a writer, and as a director. And I've done those before. I've done a 24 and 48-hour film. I've done plays and that kind of thing. This was interesting because it was people that I wouldn't have been able to work with before because they were all over the world. One of them was based in the UK. I was the only American. And I literally was up for like 36 hours because I was writing, and then I wanted to attend the rehearsal, and I wanted to be present, but their morning was my like 2 a.m. So that was cool because you get to connect with other people that you honestly might never have worked with before. So my play Yes And was written for the Here We Go 24-hour Zoom Festival, which was also related to the 24-hour plays, if you're familiar with that. Clean Slate was at something called the New Normal New Writing Festival. And then more recently, I was part of a festival that was called Places, which was a perfect title. And when I filled out the form, they said, would you like to participate as an actor, a writer, a director? Which of these things are you? And I checked all 3 boxes because I am all of those things. And it's a company that I've gotten to know over the past couple of months. Again, wouldn't have existed before this. But when we got our assignments, I said, oh, so which one did you assign me? And they said all of them. So I participated in 3 different plays. I wrote a play in 2 days. Then I directed one, and then I acted in one, and they were all presented in the same night.
Wow.
And it was live streamed. So it was real. And if you go up, you keep going.
Yeah.
Mess up, you keep going. If there's a technical problem, You have to hold or keep going. Like, what do we do?
I wouldn't have. So do you, I'm guessing you do use Backstage?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I wouldn't have found out about Backstage. Well, I knew about it, but I don't think I might have signed up for it. I don't know. But I definitely have done a ton on Backstage since this has started. I also met my drama coach, who I wouldn't have met otherwise, who is the girlfriend of Scott Follin, who played Jeremy in the London Be More Chill production. So I
love when the world is so small. I love when stuff like that happens.
So I wouldn't have found her otherwise. She's amazing. Her name is Kirsty.
That's wonderful.
Her name is Kirsty McLaren. And I don't think I would have met her otherwise. And I'm glad we're still able to have vocal lessons and drama lessons over Zoom. Even they're not in person is the best, but it's better than not having them at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the amazing thing of these teachers and coaches and directors that are still willing to give their time. And like I said, I know people who have started learning new tricks, be it editing, or working in different kind of Adobe programs, because they are not only trying to find a way to have an artistic job that pays, but also is creatively stimulating. So I know people that normally work in lighting who are currently working on VFX.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to find another avenue. But mostly they're also trying to, like me, stay active. And I think what you just said too is really important. If we can give back, because if we can see an opportunity. Like, I love reposting opportunities. I love emailing somebody and saying, I just saw this breakdown on Actors Access or Backstage or LA Casting. This sounds like you. You should go do this thing. The seemingly random opportunities that you find on Twitter, on Instagram, and also finding your lane, because not everybody loves social media. Not everybody loves submitting for things. You find what you're good at and what brings you joy, and you go after those kinds of roles and those kinds of jobs, and you're going to be more successful because you're going to be a happier person, and the roles that you get are going to be closer to your target. So you're going to keep going, and you're going to keep that momentum. Yeah,
I've definitely, I got a kind of a featured part in a short film. I've definitely gotten more
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was fun. It was called Red. It was like a horror Little Red Riding Hood film. It was
you're preaching to the choir. I wrote a script about Little Red Riding Hood that's modern, so we can talk about that after.
I feel like I've been getting more into film acting, and I've gotten better at that because of this time, because there isn't as much theater going on. So I think that I've been applying for more film things, making film reels out of scripts and stuff, and I've been working just on more film acting, and I think that's definitely good to improve that skill, so you can do both, because a lot of actors do both film and theater. And it's also
good just to try out. I mean, I know people who are very exclusively theater actors, and I know people that are very exclusively, they like film and TV better, and I like doing all the things. But I can understand, because one person might really love pasta, I know I do, and somebody else might love pizza. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's great too to just try and see if you like it. Or you might find that you like something Backstage more. Maybe you try out for a musical and you realize you really love classical theater, and you didn't have that in you before, or you heard a Shakespeare production that was modern and you didn't realize that was a possibility. I know somebody whose favorite movie is She's the Man. She loves that movie. Yeah. And she doesn't pick up Twelfth Night and Shakespeare just for funsies, but she will recite She's the Man with no problem. And I always say it's about making the story applicable to you, but also if you're creating it, if you're the writer or the director or whatnot, making it accessible. And that is something that I really hope going forward people continue to do. We need to have a more inclusive and accessible way to the arts for both performers and for the audience. We need to have things that are closed captioned. We need to allow people into the casting rooms that don't get in casting rooms as often, because people people need to be more open-minded and allow people into rooms rather than dismissing them because they have a disability or a limitation that they see. Yeah. Because you know what? That's not a limitation that we see. So you have to, you know, let people in. But like the number of theaters and sound stages that I've worked in that don't have ramps, that don't have a bathroom nearby, that don't have interpreters, be that for a language, be it a dialect coach, be it ASL or BSL if you're working in Britain. So I think a lot of folks have found from theater to film because they can put closed captions on their films. Even people doing TikTok, I see a lot of those have the words are popping on the screen, and that's not something that I saw 2 years ago. Yeah. So I'm really hoping that as we move forward, we continue to make the arts as accessible as possible. Definitely. And invite people into the conversation, invite people into the theaters, invite people into the writing rooms. Yeah. You know, let people write their own story and let people's voices be heard. Yeah.
I've definitely been seeing more on breakdowns and stuff, more general, like it isn't as specific. You know what I mean? Like all ethnicities, for example, it doesn't specifically say like gender or anything. You know what I mean? Like it's been more open to everyone, which is good, I think.
Yeah, I think it's about finding the right person for the part. And when I'm casting things or writing things myself, I talk about how it's energy and adjectives. So I'm looking from somebody that's high energy or somebody who's sassy or somebody who's, you know, that's the more important part of the character. If the two characters have to appear to be about the same age, like let's cast with that direction. But, and I think that's also important to know as an actor, because you could have memorized those sides. That character could have experienced something that's so close to home for you. You could knock that audition out of the park. But before I walked in, they cast my mom, and she's a redhead. And they changed it and said, we want a redhead to play the daughter. And so much of it, I think, for actors is to learn to do your best, give it your all, and then let it go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. Who/what inspired you to become an actor/director? Also, any advice for aspiring actors or directors, or I guess people getting into the business?
Well, I am definitely the queen of advice. I love it. I love it when friends and associates come to me for advice about life or about the business. So we could talk about that at length for certain. Like I said earlier, I definitely have always had this in me, have always had a very, very strong imagination, very active imagination. And I'm curious about everything. When I was a toddler, I wanted to know how everything worked. I started reading when I was 2 years old because my mom would read to me and I would close the book and say, teach me how. That's how I've always been. I've been self-motivated. So I have a lot of favorite actors and favorite movies and favorite musicians and people that I look to, that I admire their work and their career. And my favorite actors are the folks who have a very, very, very diverse portfolio, who can do comedy and drama equally well, which again, is not required, but all of my favorite people can make you laugh 1 second and cry the next. I also really love a lot of classic films and classic actors. So I could watch Jack Lemmon, Cary Grant, Gene Kelly, Barbara Stanwyck all day. I love old MGM musicals and stuff like that too. So I grew up watching both classic stuff and modern stuff with my family. They had different interests, and I think I kind of picked up on different things. But I've always known that this is what makes me happiest. This is where I come alive. I come alive on stage and on film is where you're going to get. Though I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not a quiet person. I'm not a shy person. I'm a very come as you are, heart on my sleeve, big energy, let's go person. But I just love telling stories, and I love the collaborative nature when you're making a show with other people and telling this story. And when everybody there loves what they do, it just feels different. It's not work. It's not work. It is fun. And whether that's, like I said, a drama or a comedy, whether you're crying your eyes out every night and it's a catharsis for you, or you're laughing so hard that your cheeks hurt and your belly hurts every single night. It's a very, very physical thing too. I think you're using your body, you know, in my case, I'm using my body, my voice, my brain, my everything, my perception. You do that in dance, you do that in singing. There's all kinds of different factors that you use to tell your story. And I've always been a very expressive person, as you can tell. So this was always the lane that was for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Like if you find so much joy and passion in something, you should definitely do it.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Yeah. Have you heard the expression, do what you love what you do?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And that's just a really big part of why I do what I do. And then something that I always say to encourage other people, because I'm definitely their teacher / life coach / acting coach / cheerleader, is just, you can do this. You can do this. And for some people, that's what they need to hear, especially if it's somebody who doesn't have a family that supports them and tells them that arts is not a career or whatever the case may be. But it could be as simple as helping your friend who's having a horrible day and has to go do a physics midterm.
Yeah.
Maybe all they need to hear is that somebody else is in their corner. And if you say you can do it, then they'll believe it. And that is what gets them to kind of get over that. And also you pay it forward. They might help somebody else the same way that you help them. And I think it has to come from a very selfless place, has to come from a very genuine place. But if you have that good energy and those good intentions and you share them, people can tell. And it helps. It can fill the room, or it can make, you never know the smallest thing that you do that can make somebody's day. You can open a door for a stranger whose umbrella got lost in the rain and in the wind, and they're having the worst day ever. And you open the door for them, and that simple act of kindness reminds them that there is the best of humanity and not everything is so terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think stories can do that too. It can be a book, it can be a movie, it can be a song, it can be a documentary. And that can remind you of what you love, and the amazing things that you're capable of.
Yeah, you're really giving me amazing answers to these questions.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so do you think that the unemployment benefits helped much, or do you think that more should have been given? Also, now with it being expired, how do you think people are getting by?
Well, again, I know people that aren't getting by.
Yeah.
I know people who are struggling. I know people who, sorry, it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. And again, because I do have friends that are in other parts of the country, not just LA, and also other countries completely different. I'm seeing how different places are handling it. Not just how an individual is, but how different governments or local community operations or different people's jobs are handling it. Some people are allowed to work from home. Some people were told in March, stay home, you're fine, your job is safe. And so for my friends that had that was a huge weight lifted off of them because they were still employed, money was still coming in, and they could be home, which was safe mentally and physically. But there are also people who don't have a safe home. There are people that being at home is detrimental to their mental health or to their situation. And I hope that people who need help are seeking help, whether that be friends and family reaching out and telling somebody, or reaching out to helplines that are anonymous, because talking to strangers that are trained and there and ready to assist you. This time of year for a lot of people is really hard. Holidays are not joy to the world for everybody. I know people that have really, really dark periods during the holidays, especially if you live somewhere that it's dark and it's cold. There's all these, again, physical and emotional things kind of tied into that. So being on possibly 8, 9, 10 months of being unemployed or in the not so ultimate living situation, it's not going to be conducive to a lot of people's health, let alone what they have in the bank. Yeah. And I think that if we had a higher stimulus, of course, not only with that, I think people aren't realizing like that's going to help people in more ways than one.
Yeah.
It's going to help them pay for their rent. It's going to help put food in their belly. It's going to help them put clothes on the backs of their kids. And a lot of people, the stimulus payments don't even pay a month of their rent. And they've been out of work or working from home or whatever the situation has been for 9 months. If you don't have savings, or if you don't have money some other way, or a new job or a side hustle that didn't get closed down, it can be really, really difficult. And we haven't even mentioned if anybody's had health problems or family with health problems, and they're trying to pay medical bills, and they're trying to see their grandmother who's in the hospital that they're not allowed to see, that they're able to see through, maybe a plate glass window, but probably it's on Zoom. So we're not able to make the physical connections that we need to help these people that are in dire need of it in a health facility. Not to mention the support that we should be giving all of our doctors and nurses and the people that are on the front lines, and our scientists and the people that are fighting to keep people alive, to keep science prevalent, and to get, the truth out there and get people taken care of to the best of their abilities. And, there are people that are scared to go to hospitals right now that need help because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll turn around.
Yeah. I think that also,
like I said,
I think that also if you're in, like you said, like a bad home situation or like an abusive relationship, this is the worst time for you because you can't leave. Some people. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I booked a commercial that was about that very subject. And during the start of this pandemic, there was one about mental health and there was one about domestic violence. And they had the idea in mind, and the producers, shopped around and found the best charities and where they could aid. And none of us got paid. We all said, put that money towards people who need it. But there were a lot of people that watching that 60-second commercial, their eyes were open because they didn't think about that. Yeah. They might, pick on their brother, maybe don't really love their roommate, but they hadn't really thought about what that could be for people in that situation. So thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you for being aware. And I hope that anybody watching this or listening to this reaches out and gets the help that they need from bona fide charity centers that either extend monetary support or shelter, or just like I said, just a helpline, because talking to somebody can do a world of difference.
I'm gonna put a link below to I'll look up a charity that goes to that.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I also heard that there was a letter that hundreds of artists signed asking President-elect Biden for support. Do you think there's any hope of anything to come of that? And did you sign it, or do you know anyone who did?
Yes and yes. I do think that there's hope around the corner. I think that we have a light at the end of this tunnel right now, and that we also have to hold people accountable too. That's very, very important. I've been so glad to see people become more aware, be it of science or academia or politics, and to fight for things that aren't right, and to find a way to find, be it justice or be it regulations or be it overturning, an unlawful conviction. Seeing, again, that same passion that we talked about, that maybe you and I feel for theater or feel for singing, see that come alive. I know people who weren't even old enough to vote in the election that were so passionate about it and got involved in different organizations to get the vote out, or to get young folks registered who had just turned 18, or underrepresented populations, and make sure that voter suppression wasn't happening because we were getting people on buses to get to the polls and that sort of thing. And I think, again, it's using your abilities for good. What can you do in this world that can help others? Maybe it's a way that you were helped that you want to pay forward, or maybe it's a way that you aren't being helped that you wish you were. You can be that light for other people. You can help them. So hopefully going forward, the new administration, I have hopes that it already is going to be a more inclusive group of people and a more informed 2021 going forward. And I think, as Lin-Manuel Miranda said in Hamilton, history has its eyes on you. And it really, really does, because so many people, because of being at home and being on social media more and more this year, I feel people are more aware of things that are going on in the world. And hopefully if something rubs them the wrong way, they're finding a way to make it right, to give voice to that. If you see something, say something, is something that I heard years ago, and it applies to so many things, whether it be something going wrong backstage at your theater or something going wrong in a bathroom at your school. Finding a way to say, this isn't right. How can we make it right? How can we help the people who have either been victimized or pushed aside or marginalized or silenced? How can we give them a voice and a platform? How can we help them not just survive, but thrive? And how can we really make our community and our world not just healthy, but happy? We need both of those things.
Yeah. Wow. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. I think that hopefully in 2021 it'll be like things will start anew. Like, since we had such a since this year was so tough, hopefully next year will be like happier.
And I also hope that if people have new routines, be that charitable works or working with justice or whatever, I hope that becomes part of their routine, part of their life, that going forward, it's like when my mom said when I was little, like, when you're sick, you appreciate being well. Right? So like when you just get over whatever that is, you're like, okay, like if you lose your voice before a performance, it's the worst thing ever. When you get it back, you're bouncing off the walls because you have it back.
Yeah.
But in a month, are you still bouncing off the walls? Or is it just back to normal?
Yeah.
Is it just, have you just taken things for granted? We all have abilities or I guess material objects. I'm not a material object person, but that others don't have and that they would love to have. I think also that applies to careers. No matter what level you are in your career, there's somebody who's aching to do that. Oh my God, you just got a small role in something and you're complaining about it.
Yeah.
How about the 100 of people who applied and auditioned that didn't even get the role? You know, so I think it's appreciating what you have, but also giving back. I saw a post from somebody that I know this morning, another actress, who said that for this holiday season, she decided to, if she buys a gift for someone, she is matching that with a donation somewhere. And she, she loves giving gifts to family and friends. And it's not about how much money she does or doesn't have or what income level she is. And she didn't even initially share that. Because again, I think integrity, it's like the things that you do without having to have somebody pat you on the back. If you walk an old lady across the street only if someone's watching, then you're doing that for somebody. For somebody else, you're doing it for optics. But if you do it because you see somebody in need. So yeah, she did not initially, she's been doing it. And I believe her boyfriend nudged her to share that. Not to pat herself on the back, but because she realized, oh, if I say I'm doing this, maybe other people will as well. I like posting about places that I think need more attention or more support. I love the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Shout out to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. They have nothing to do with theater, but you know what? I love them, and zoos and aquariums are shut down right now and getting no income, and they're rescuing animals and taking care of them behind the scenes. Those people have never stopped working.
Yeah.
And if they don't get the funds that they need, what's going to happen, not just to the people, but, to the animals that are there. So there's all that kind of stuff. And I also really like there's a tagline on the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. They have something called a disaster fund, and they were helping a lot of Californians during the wildfires. and other things, but that was kind of like the most prevalent thing. And then they created the COVID-19 disaster fund as well,
and there was
for eligible SAG-AFTRA.
The Australian wildfires too.
Yes, yeah. But I really like the SAG-AFTRA Foundation tagline says, if you need help, ask, and if you can help, give.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that aren't in a place to donate even $20 somewhere. But if you have a voice, you can use it. If you have a platform, you can tweet about it. You can do something of that nature, because maybe I post about it and you click it. Yeah. You retweet it, and your grandpa donates money to the domestic violence. It creates like a chain. Yeah, it creates a chain, and it also is just awareness. You never know who needed to see that. 100 people could see that, and just if it reaches one person, just like a theater performance, just like a random episode of TV, if that reaches one person, we've done our job. If that impacts somebody else, we've done our job in a positive way. But there's a lot of places that people can look up, and I'm sure you're aware of them. So I'm just going to say some, but I know it's not an exhaustive list. But the Actors Fund. Yeah. Broadway Cares, Broadway Advocacy Coalition. I know there's Broadway for Racial Justice. There's a lot of places that are very theater specific. There's places that are New York specific or California specific, America specific, or just a specific kind of cause. So I think, again, like if you need help, if you have access to a computer and you're in a safe situation, Google some stuff. Yeah. And if you aren't aware of what's going on, Google some stuff and educate yourself too. So use reputable sources. Yeah. Use trusted sources though.
Yeah. I'm definitely putting links to those down here. And okay, so this is actually the last question. Okay. Kind of finishing things up. What do you anticipate when things open back up? Do you think that people will be hesitant? What do you think will have changed, such as stage dooring?
I think that things will definitely feel different. It will be interesting to see how things change if things open up more slowly, and how cautious people are being, how aware people are of certain regulations, and people that may not feel comfortable speaking up if something doesn't feel safe yet, if it doesn't feel right yet. I always tell people, trust your gut about anything. Trust your gut. Your intuition is telling you something for a reason. If you're about to do a stunt and it doesn't feel right and you saw water on the floor, you tell somebody, right? Yeah. So if you feel that, if you get the physical version of that, or your mind is just like, this is not right, this isn't what I signed up for. If it's not in your contract or your writer, or it is, but it's not being acknowledged, speak up or speak to somebody that you feel like you can. A lot of TV shows and films have opened up around here, but I don't know of any theaters that are physically open yet because of the audience situation. Yeah. But we need to talk about the fact that film and TV still employ hundreds of people. So you still have to be safe there. And again, don't take things for granted. A lot of things are muscle memory. Yeah. Right? That we reach for something or a shared object, or we hug somebody because we haven't seen them in months or whatever it may be. So I think until we're truly on the other side of this, like truly, it's important to know regulations and rules, but also to check in with yourself and what you're comfortable with. So yeah, right now, I would not want to go to a stage door. Yeah. As an actor, I would not want to potentially expose somebody to anything. But I think, again, like if we offer to do like more and more plays, how we have talkbacks, we have Q&As with the cast, we have people tuning in. And that's the other thing too. People are tuning in from elsewhere. So yes, it's hard to invite everybody to that 5th Zoom reading that you're doing. But maybe your grandma gets to see you and she lives in Illinois and she normally can't come to your show. So I think it's a matter of doing that. And just like the Tonys put a little piece of Broadway in my home growing up when I was a kid, that I didn't have an opportunity to see otherwise. So I think as long as we move forward with respect and we don't rush into things and we make sure that everything is, again, like physically and scientifically sound, and just see ourselves on the other side of it. It's a beautiful place. Yeah. And will things be back to normal? Will it be a new normal? Will it be varying degrees of normal? Probably there will probably be different precautions depending on how many seats are in a theater or what that's like.
That,
I mean,
because I know that, do you want to go? I know that 6 and everybody's talking about Jamie did, I think, like 35% capacity in London. They're now shut down again, but I know that they were doing that.
Yeah, and I know places that taped off seats. I know places that physically removed seats. I know places that tried to make it like actual pods, because as you and I both know, when you walk in a theater, you're still going, excuse me. You're still walking past a bunch of people, even if you aren't sitting by them. So
especially intermission too. Yeah.
Especially intermission. And this is again where accessibility is important. Accessibility is so important because people that have mobility differences need to be able to be on stage and in the audience and backstage. So if we're willing to take out seats and change it to a certain number, capacity, if we're willing to change the filtration system or, change the bathroom system because we want to be able to wipe stuff down, great. Keep that going forward. Keep that. Everybody should be able to play and everybody should be able to see what's going on. So allow for that. Have more performances that are accessible in different ways, be it light sensitivity or captioned or whatnot, because you are going to bring more people in to your theater to see your show, and that show is going to touch more people. And again, you might just go, light bulb, to a crew or a cast member who hadn't thought about that before. Something might not have touched your life. You might not have had that mobility difference and never realized how easy it is for you to walk from one side of the stage to the other, or go through, just in the dark.
Again, people taking things for granted.
Yeah. So I think we just have to make sure that we keep that motivation going forward. And when we're thinking about health and safety, and just know, I mean, I don't know. We don't know what date. We can't prognosticate. Again, I'll go visit myself and in the sequel to my movie, maybe, and I'll find out. But even then, it's going to be different for everybody because of where you live in the world, and because maybe you have an immunodeficiency disorder, or maybe you're just really, really cautious or really, really anxious to get back on stage. So check in with yourself. What might be okay for somebody else might not be okay for you, and vice versa. You might feel like this is safe and they might feel like this is risky. So find that. But I can tell you about a play that I helped write earlier this year that the producer called Pandemic Proof, and it's called Alice in Quarantine, and it's Alice in Wonderland presented in a safe way. And it was produced in Texas at a high school, and they did it in a parking lot so that all the actors were set up in their scenes. And as the cars drove through, you would just do that scene over and over again as each car came through. And it's kind of like
a Disney ride, like the animatronics go through.
Yes, exactly. And they said, we still want to have live theater. We still want to be able to do it, a new show every night. Because, every night it's different. You can say the same lines with the same people and something is just different, right? Yeah. So, and all the performers had masks. It allowed for a bunch of people, like for the role of Alice, there were a bunch of different people playing Alice, and they looked different and their costumes were different, and each of them had their own personal flair. It was also neat because the producer of this invited 11 playwrights to collaborate and write different scenes based on the original text, Alice in Wonderland, so that anybody who options the script, be it a professional company, a local company, a school, a college, a high school, you can pick which scenes you want to do. You can mix and match. So again, every show is going to be literally different because you've got that. Yeah. So I just thought that was really, really, really neat. Yeah. It was really a cool thing too, to get the pictures and to see the videos and say they're still working. They're still, they have that light at the end of their tunnel because if people had been homeschooled, or pardon me, we're doing school from home, I should say. It was a way for them to get back with their theater friends and see them at a safe distance and wave and, and perform. So it's possible. We just have to change our thinking and keep in mind both things. How does this best serve the story? What creative elements, costume, lights, props, casting, all the things, direction, and also right now and going forward, how do we keep everybody safe backstage, on stage, and in the audience.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the number one thing, really. I was just in a socially distanced, with masks on production of Addams Family in my theater group.
That?
Yeah, that was really fun. I was Pugsley.
Oh my goodness. Wait, did they have you still up on the thing?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah. So you've been amazing. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, so there will be links to Broadway Cares, Actors Fund, a bunch of different charities that you guys should donate to because it's really important and I think you can really help. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. It was so fun to talk to you.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.